right. You already know what it is. It's our baby, BR, baby, our, Mr. Steal Your Girl, Mr. You already know what it is. Yo, man, Mr. Nayari t-shirt that I bought from Florida, which isn't even original from the place. It is In Living Spanglish. Yes, hi, it is Vero Fuerte, and my Halloween costume for this year for the show is Ricardo Mexicano. But it is your host here introducing the real Baby R is, well, Vero Fuerte. Sorry, you guys. I took a shot before I came here. Anyway, introduce yourself, Mexicano.
I feel so insulted because you forgot Mr. Give Your Girl Back. I
was trying to think of, I was like, what is all his monikers that he always goes through? I was like, I know it's our baby R, Mr. Steal Your Girl, and after that, like,
Mr. Give Your Girl Back. I'm not a selfish monster. I'm gonna give her back. It's
all like white noise to me after a certain point. I live with you, so like everything you say pretty much is, in one ear out the other, pretty much. But
which is crazy because everything that you say is completely contained in my brain.
Yeah.
Which me.
I think that just shows this the difference in how our brains operate in general.
The polar opposite, aka my brain is better.
Whatever. Okay. All right. All right. Mexicano, you want to introduce yourself, Mexicano?
I don't got to. They know what it is. Baby R.
Oh,
yeah,
baby. You already know what it is. Did I say that part? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no further introduction. It's like, it's like when you go to the chapel, you know who you're talking to, You're talking to, G-O-D, me.
Well, unless you're Catholic, then you're talking to the priest who's talking to the God,
ain't
right? Isn't that how that works?
Ain't no man before me.
Yeah, like Catholicism or some shit. I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
I grew up with that stuff and I siphoned it.
I don't know what that is.
But hi, this is In Living Spanglish coming at you with a well, not really spooky. I don't know. We thought it would be fun to try to do like sort of a Halloween / Dia De Los Muertos episode of sorts. So this is our attempt of doing that. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, we're going to hit you with the you know what, you love it. It's the Latinx Birthdays. So happy birthday to this leyenda herself, October 25th, to Celia Cruz. You already know what it is. It's Queen of Salsa Music. We know her, we love her, so happy posthumous birthday to her.
All right, cool. So once again, ILS, we got a guest coming up. We're not gonna say who it is, but in a few seconds to a minute, you're gonna figure out what that is.
So fucking weird, but okay, all right.
Who's weird?
Nothing.
Who's weird?
Go on.
Wait. Who's weird? Do you have something to say about him?
Go on, Mr. R. It's just Mr. R. I get you. We're one of the same mind.
Right. So kind of like what Veronica said in the pretext, we are in spooky season, and because of that, we thought it would be cool to have something related to that. So coming up, we'll have somebody kind of explaining the Dia De Los Muertos and all that kind of thing. So stay tuned, and hopefully you guys enjoy it.
All right, and here we are with the In Living Spanglish podcast. This week we are treating you to a very special guest, William Giron. I'm saying that right? Okay, awesome. William Giron from the, let's see, and let me make sure that I got this right. Okay, Let's see. It is, I'm sorry, Artes de la Rosa, right? And you are the head honcho over there, basically overseeing most of everything, setting up for the Dia de los Muertos celebration that's going to happen this week in Fort Worth. Is that right?
That is correct. So thank you for the opportunity and invitation to be on your program.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. So first things first, William, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. You're from Guatemala, am I right? Or
Yes. So I was born in Guatemala. I came here at the age of 5, and here literally to Fort Worth. Have been raised here. So I consider myself a Fort Worthian. It's my family. My parents are from Guatemala as well. My siblings are from here.
Awesome. And you were telling us a little bit before we actually started the official recording is that you have a background in both economics and nonprofits. So what was the beginning of Artes de la Rosa, and how did that get roped into being with Dia de los Muertos this year?
Okay. Well, it's a little bit of history with Artes de la Rosa, kind of stepping back, it's really the central point is the Rosemarine Theater, historic Rosemarine Theater, is what gave the birth of the organization itself. It was built in 1914. It's registered on a historical national as a historical national landmark. Um, it's had 4 different owners. The current owner is the city of Fort Worth. Um, within the different owners, back when it started in 1914, it was a movie house, and there was variety shows as well. We have a documentary called The Rosa Sense of Place. So for those of you that have Prime, Amazon Prime, we are on there on the video side. Take a look at that video. It's about 40 minutes long. But so there's an image in there where it has a variety show, circus, and what have you. Kind of fast forwarding it to the second owners, you had the Birkenhalters. It was a couple who managed the theater. This was during the time when Mexico was distributing tons of Mexican films worldwide. And the wife would fly down or go down to Mexico and bring up famous Mexican actors and actresses. We had here in our stage, Pedro Infante, Cantinflas, Maria Felix, just to name a few. And this was during a time where segregation also happened out here. And Main Street was the dividing line. And so they couldn't stay with, there weren't hotels on this side of town. So they would stay with host families. So there's some host families here in Fort Worth that had that experience with these famous actors and actresses. Then it kind of fast forwarding it to the third owner, the families that had it. There was a recession that hit during the time nationwide. There's recession here. Backing up when it was a boom during that time frame when there were a lot of Mexican films. You had them here. There was also a high influx of Mexican immigrants that were coming to Fort Worth because of one major employer here in Stockyards. And so then that kind of again fast forwarding it with the recession, that particular big company closed down. There was a lot of people unemployed. The Rosemarine Theater was closed down. In the documentary across the street or catty corner, there's a tire shop, and somebody had taken a picture of it of inside looking outward towards the theater. It was boarded up and fenced up. What's interesting now is they're boarded up, and they don't have the fence, but they're boarded up. And then thankfully the theater is now thriving and alive. But the family who owned it then, they didn't have the funds basically to remodel it. And there were community leaders that wanted the theater to come back alive because it was very deeply rooted with the families. This was the only place Latinos can bring their families to have some form of entertainment. And the first Mexican American was voted into the city of Fort Worth. His name is Luis Zapata, which the theater auditorium is named under. He was able to get things rezoned here because it was primarily industrial. And he was also able to work with city council along with other community leaders to bring funding here for the Rosemarine Theater. It got renovated, and hence the birth of Latin Arts Association of Fort Worth, which is now doing business as Artes de la Rosa. Started with small programming, an informal after-school program. Now it has evolved, with a formalized program called Artes Academy that caters to 3rd to 12th graders, focusing on 5 elements: student character development, social emotional learning, life skills, strengthening literacy, and STEAM initiatives. At the end of each session, the students are able to do presentations or live theater performances, dance performances. The 5 different classes that we have is creative writing, theater performance, dance, visual arts, and technology arts. And then we have the second pillar, which is the cultural public education. Here's where we have the festivals. Here's where we have concerts, art exhibitions. And as you mentioned, one of the festivals that is leading up currently is we transitioned from Hispanic Heritage Month celebration into Dia De Los Muertos. This year, we're dedicating uh, for technically celebrating the lives of lost loved ones overall. But in particular, this year is very special only because of so many lives that were lost last year due to the pandemic and are still being lost. And it's unfortunate that the high statistics are within the minority community. So we're here to provide some type of joy in the midst of at the same time respecting, the lost loved ones, but bringing some type of joy, remembrance, celebration of their lives. And we rebranded our Dia De Los Muertos, which this year will be our 18th our annual. Rebranded it to Dia de los Muertos in Fort Worth, Celebración de Vida y Cultura. And we're making it bigger. We've transitioned from a procession in the evening festival now to a parade in the morning and taking it to Marine Park to allow social distancing as well. We'll be providing a wide variety of entertainment. Plus, there will also be vaccinations and again, encouraging, to flatten the curve, for the numbers that are still not there in our community.
So I guess my question is, how does it feel to like be a part of something that, 18 years, that's a very, very like monumental time to really have something like this, continue to like grow. So I can imagine like when it started, you probably most people couldn't foresee it being what it is now. So, how does that speak volumes to like just the amount of dedication and love people have really put into like this type of celebration?
Yes, as we're growing it, well, one of the other milestones that we're doing besides the rebranding, if you will, of the name, we have great partners that include the city of Fort Worth, the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Visit Fort Worth, and the National Latino Law Enforcement Organization as well, that have stepped up, to assist in helping us expand, this celebration and its deeply rooted, rich history with the community. And again, it's towards the end of the year, but lots of emotions, positive emotions. At the same token, there's some sadness
Sort
in
of
there,
bittersweet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Bittersweet is an excellent word.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm really excited. I know for sure I'm definitely gonna be there because I love everything surrounding Dia de los Muertos. A random question though, it just came into my head. Does Guatemala celebrate Dia de los Muertos?
Guatemala does celebrate,
I
yes.
did not know that. Okay, gotcha.
Some portions, not necessarily the whole country, but yeah.
No,
interesting enough that you're asking, because in the parade, we are actually the one who is participating with us is the Guatemalan consulate.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I asked because I was just visiting my family last weekend, and it really kind of hit me how my family doesn't necessarily celebrate, and we're Mexican, right? And my family doesn't necessarily celebrate Dia de los Muertos, but I know some families that like through and through religiously every year do. So, it's not just I find it interesting because it's not just like a cultural thing. Sometimes it can be a familial thing in how it's passed down, right?
That is absolutely correct. We're the only Latino cultural center here in Tarrant County, and that's where we pride ourselves as far as with our mission, in preserving the lives and the art, culture, history of the Latino culture overall for everyone to enjoy. And when we say overall, just because we have the same color skin doesn't necessarily mean
we all have the same background, the same traditions, exactly. todo, sí,
right,
sí.
Right. So you talk to abuelitos, abuelitas, yes, I remember that. And then as their kids get older and have their own kids, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's passed on in that aspect. But you have films like The Book of Life and Coco, specifically Coco now, it allowed to that educational component nationally, and being more exposed and for others who weren't aware of it or really didn't know the significance of it.
And it makes it more digestible too for like little kids who like just like my little sisters who are 10 and 5 who don't I wouldn't say aren't always like besides the food, aren't always the most engrossed inside their culture. When they watch movies like this, like, oh, we do that. Oh, that's us. It's very important
Yeah.
for them to have things like that, I think. And it's also interesting because you brought up The Book of Life, which is a movie that, to my knowledge, people don't talk a lot. People talk about Coco. They don't really bring up Book of Life. I love Book of Life. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I think I watched something recently where it really talked about like how different, even in Mexico, how different Day of the Dead is celebrated when it comes to like maybe your more metropolitan areas as opposed to like your compared to like the more
More
rural,
rural.
little chiquito, los pueblos más chiquitos,
Yes.
and how like in the small towns it's more of a very humble religious thing, and how in the
Yes.
bigger cities it's more just like a festival kind of thing.
Yeah, more parade.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
more
yeah,
it's
yeah,
more
yeah.
parade and I think I saw like an interesting fact where I think Mexico City didn't ever have a parade, like an actual like official day of the day parade, until like 2017. I think it was like crazy to think of that had never
Well,
happened before then.
I didn't know that.
part of that actually had to do with the James Bond film
Yeah, I think
that they
yeah.
had filmed. Yeah,
What
so
James Bond film?
that's
What
I
are you
read the
guys talking
same
about?
article.
I don't
Yeah,
even know what you're
in
talking about.
the Spectre, yeah, because in James
Yes.
in the James Bond film Spectre, they had like a whole like crazy like opening scene of like them in Mexico City, and it's like this beautiful, like they're going around, you see all the Catrinas and the floats and everything,
Mhm.
and then like I think because of that, people realize like, oh crap, we've never done. I don't think Mexico the F had never done a big festival like that. And because of that, they decided to
It's like,
finally
oh, we got to put on now. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
like
yeah. They
because
put the
the
pressure on us.
yeah, because the interest was there, and then like you mentioned earlier in yourself, like Coco, the Book of Life, they finally
Mhm.
like it really started rising into this like prominent mainstream audience to where like for the first time, not just America but across the world, people were finally exposed to this type of celebration.
Yeah, and what I find interesting, and that's something for us that's very important, in keeping tradition. And when
Yeah.
we say tradition, because I've been asking earlier this year, again, we're transitioning from a procession to a parade.
Mm-hmm.
There is a difference between both. The procession is more tied religiously than the parade. Parade, I mean, you hear parade and you already know it's very festive, and it's the meaning is a little bit different. So what we're trying to do this year is incorporating, still within keeping within our tradition of the procession that we've been doing all along, and incorporating within the parade. So we're trying to see how that blends itself in, if it's able to work in that aspect, or if we're next year we have to do a split, and still keep that tradition, because we don't want to lose that aspect of it. But in that overall, still again, this year we want to incorporate the procession individuals that participate normally have participated with the walkers within the parade itself, and it will be led by mariachis, and we'll hopefully have some drum line as well. We've had that in the past, leading the charge in a festive but not way over the top type, keeping a balance. Let's just say that,
Yeah, yeah,
keeping a
yeah, yeah,
balance.
Right.
yeah, yeah. You're trying
Yeah.
to keep the humility and the authenticity of
Yeah,
it with still like, giving a little bit of pomp and circumstance because like you said, we've been through a lot. We need something to, kind of, get hyped about, so to speak. So,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. For sure, for sure.
I was also gonna ask, so just with this kind of rising interest in Latino culture, such as Dia de los Muertos, have you seen like a more eagerness, like to you mentioned like the city of Fort Worth and things of that such, to where they're you're partnered with them, and is it more of a, not to say that the interest wasn't there, but is it more apparent now that people are very eager to want to be a part of things like this?
I I want to sort of like add on to this because it seems to me, just from a personal standpoint, that these last couple of years there's been sort of, not necessarily, there's been a sort of a surge of interest um for our Latino community, that wasn't there before, and I mean, to your credit and to everybody's credit that's been, part of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and everybody that's been doing this for years and years and years, I'm sure you guys have noticed on some level that, like, just our culture and like the things that matter to us, and like has sort of been amplified these past couple of years to the point where it's gotten more mainstream attention. So
Yeah, well, the beauty of this is if you look at it from the artistic standpoint, art itself, it's a narrative, it's a story. I mean, and all of us have a story, right? And the narrative, even with this pandemic, it brought the artistic side or the arts up to the forefront. Why? I mean, because that's how people are able to express themselves through film, through music. And that's one of the components that also unites people together, which is can be universal, right? With music. So all these different elements, disciplines within the art have also helped us. And well, and the things is, as you mentioned, these last couple of years, there's been a lot of other social issues that have also brought things to the forefront and
that's a good point.
Escalated the frustrations of the minority, putting it just like that, the minority community that enough is enough type, and you've seen all these again, these aspects, social issue aspects that it's time to face it, and if not, here we are.
Yeah.
Right. And but even with that, so then you have all these elements right now. The hot topics are DIA, diversity, equity, inclusion. I've been telling people that's what we've been working all along, as far as Latino culture. The arts itself is very difficult to fundraise as a whole. It's even tougher when it's a minority arts organization to fundraise, it's you're like doubling it up, and trying to bring in quality, affordable programming for nuestra comunidad, and that is something for us that, for me personally, that I'm passionate about, seeing, again, from our students here, I always tell individuals, they say, oh, so are they going to be actors, actresses? No, we're not really. We're blessed if they go into that route, but what we're teaching them are transferable skill sets that apply to their personal life or classroom life. Well, personal life, classroom life, and then I say the boardroom life, the boardroom life. Yes, our expectations with our students, they will be decision makers sitting at the table, making decisions at whatever capacities, that if it's in the public or private sectors, but that they have that assertiveness, that knowledge, education is key, and that motivation, and have that outlet or have an outlet utilizing, the arts in a way to be creative problem solvers. I always challenge them, for every one problem, there should be 3 solutions. Because if you tell somebody, bring me 1 solution, they come back with 0. But guess what?
That's
when you
good.
challenge them at 3 times,
I'm going to start incorporating that in my own life. Shit, that's awesome. That's really...
So no, it's and apply not only to the students, but even to adults. And I try to apply that. It's the same thing in my life. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's so I hope I did answer your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely you did.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, William. So I'm curious. I mean, because you said that you have a background in economics and all of this wonderful stuff that you started with, Arte de la Rosa is just like absolutely amazing. And I'm just curious, did you have any experience in school, like with a theater program or any arts program, anything like that?
So interesting. Yes. Interesting you say that or ask that question, because so I grew up in church, and in church I was exposed to choir. I participated in choir and church plays. As we got into, middle school, got into sports, and then in high school, still playing sports. And it's interesting because sitting with, football players around, I think 10th, 11th grade, and the choir teacher comes in. She was very bubbly personality, and she comes in and into the lunchroom, and she's like, hey guys, I know you're all tough and big and, into the sports, but we're looking at doing a musical, and I'm really needing muscle and guys that could possibly sing. And long story short with that, she says, does anybody know, I think Barbaran, the Beach Boys?
Mm-hmm.
You know how the different voices?
Yeah.
So one of the guys started joking around, and he made one of the voice, and I started harmonizing. She said, you two, I need y'all to come with me, and then
She already knew. Yeah.
it sure is
Yeah.
like, but you know what? It's always been in my heart. Music. I love music. If in a different lifetime, I probably would have gone in a route of being a musician, But again, I find for me, people, I mean, they write what they feel, right? In poetry, but in music, they're putting their hearts out in any of the forms, right? It could be through visual arts and what have you. But with music, for me, it does hit home because it's like you start listening to lyrics or reading the lyrics, and it's like, wow, that's why people connect because I'm not the only one going through something that someone else actually wrote it.
Yeah. Do you play any instruments, William?
Not really good, but yeah, the piano, the guitar.
Awesome.
And I like that because the whole story you told about the football players and all that and the theater teacher, because I think it really does go to show that there are definitely a lot of people out there who possess like this, maybe maybe they don't even realize it themselves, but that they have this talent, this this untapped potential to do something that they maybe just never thought they could do, but it was because of that like exposure or like somebody being like, you know what, I think y'all will be good for this.
And that's what your program like amplifies a lot, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. One as you were saying that, one thought that comes to mind. I like football, right? And Cowboys all the way, right? And Herschel Walker, I don't know if y'all read a story on him.
Mm-hmm.
He took ballet classes, but that gave him opportunity to be flexible when he was running and out on the field. That and it's encouraging to hear, and you hear more nowadays as well with football players that do play music, write songs, or paint, or are involved within the arts as well. And it does make an impact. Again, within the arts, it allows those different transferable skill sets, for
like public speaking, all of that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yes.
Oh, I was going to say, and it also like just goes to show, especially in like the Latino community, that both males and females, that we're not just this one stereotypical monolith, that we're all like this like constant portrayal that you've seen in media, that there are people who are interested in certain arts and certain activities that maybe didn't fall in line with like the quote unquote like culture, like traditional of like Hispanics, and just letting them be them and like just seeing what they could create, see what they produce out of all that.
Do you feel like have you had experiences where a student, first of all, I guess my question is, how does a student even come to know about your program in the first place? Like, is it something like, are there flyers like put out in their schools like, hey, or you want to join this program? Come check it out. So that's the question. And I guess the other question is, do you find yourself that when they do join, that a lot of times it's the first time they've ever been immersed in a program that's been specifically about getting in touch with their more creative side versus, all academics or all, just straight up work, like from what they probably get at home?
Excellent question, or questions actually. So let's see if I can remember all of them. So what we do, collaboration is key for us. Again, with the past experience I've had, I think it's helped me. One, it has helped me build and cultivate relationships from my previous employers or places of employment that I've been at, which have, and even with the skill sets that I've added into my toolbox, bringing it here, collaboration plays a key factor. We work with Fort Worth Independent School District or other independent school district, but primarily them, since they're here based in Fort Worth, the largest school district in Tarrant County. Working with the neighborhood associations or other nonprofit organizations like Hispanic Women's Network. There was an organization called Hispano Éxito, again with the Chamber of Commerce as well, just to name a few. But again, that plays very, it's part of the strategic planning aspect for me, because then they become ambassadors. I always welcome them whenever, because I've been, December will be 3 years here where I'm sitting at the hot seat. But when I started, the first 6 months for me was also very important to go around town, speaking with like the cultural district, the museums, Fort Worth Opera, the Clyburn, where Latinos at times don't feel comfortable or don't feel welcome at times, right?
Yeah.
And we've had great partnerships with them. And, I think the stars aligned because when leadership changed here, leadership changed with other organizations too. And as I sat and went to go meet with them, appreciated their work with us in the past. But you know how you hear in music, the one hit wonders? It's like, let's build sustainable collaboration. We're all part of the ecosystem here, and we're trying to build an educated workforce in the end. At the same token, one common thing that I kept hearing was, we want to diversify our audience, bring in more Latinos. And I'm like, we're trying to diversify our audience too. But, so working along with them, cross-promoting with their followers as well, giving exposure, learning more about their programs so that it gives exposure to our kids and our families to their programs as well, and being a bridge of connecting and feeling welcome. Give one of our great partners, Kimball Museum, they created a committee called Nuestro Kimball to let the Spanish speaking and just the Hispanic community know of all the programs, great programs that they have. I serve on that committee, and again, bridging, connecting, and educating through. Now we have Sarah, that our educational director, building those relationships with all of them and asking their assistance to get the word out of our program. And we have them come here, do a tour. One of the things that Sarah has brought one of the programs, if you are not programs, but additional added value is open, just like they do at school, not trying to reinvent the wheel, but open house. Let's bring our donors open house and they get to see hands-on. Let's bring parents in, let them see what kids, the instructors and the kids in action. And one of the things that we pride ourselves, for me, very, very hold dearly, and I always tell people, we want nothing but the best for nuestra comunidad, our students and our community. These last 3 years, we were blessed through a grant with Facebook. We were able to acquire the latest laptops. We have some iPads, so technology that schools may not have. We want our kids to be exposed to it. There's a software called Procreate that professionals use out there, in drawing, the digital world. And somebody had told me, well, why don't y'all start off the kids with, a more scaled down. And I remember one of the teachers that we had here, she says, an ex-teacher within this ISD system, she said, oh, you'd be very surprised how kids just absorb. And if you think about it, we live in a technological world now that they get a
They're sponges.
A cell phone, sponges, but they get a little, or their cell phone, which is technically a small computer. I mean, they're teaching the adults, how to use it.
Oh yeah.
But with this, that it stuck with me, and it's like, why not? Why can't I? Remember seeing the color wheel, and I was like, okay, yeah, that looks difficult. Next thing you know, the 2-week workshop that we had, kids have produced a virtual book of their life, like chapters of their life, and a traditional book.
Wow.
And just seeing those different components come to life, wow, very touching. And how you were talking about, well, with programs like this, bringing that self-confidence. We love to have shy kids come here, because by the time they leave, they won't be shy with us, with the public. Self-awareness, self-assurance, self-confidence in a safe space, safe haven environment. Because we also don't know where kids, their backgrounds, what they're living or what they're going through, but having a safe space here with them, and that they can meet other individuals like-minded that love the arts, that want, to be free and express themselves. So
That's great. I
Um,
think that's about it, right? Do you have anything else?
well, I mean, I guess I had a couple more questions. I was curious, because I know that Artes de la Rosa is in the Northside area, right?
we're in the north side,
Right?
yes, but we service all of Fort Worth and Tarrant.
Okay,
Yes,
awesome,
right.
awesome. And I just found it really fascinating what you said, because I know that a lot of times that we can try to do a lot of good with a lot of programs and stuff, but or just anything in general. But if people don't know, that's like half the battle. You have to make sure people know about what you're trying to do. Um, which is again why we're so glad that you're here. Would you say that uh like all different parts of Fort Worth are knowledgeable of the outreach that you guys are trying to put out? And if not, what are some of your plans to try to connect more with those different parts of the community, like Southside, different things like that?
No, great question. That's been, unfortunately, that's been one of the aspects, the hurdles that we've had throughout the years, is that exposure. As an example, I grew up in Diamond Hill, never knew about this place. Had I known, I and my siblings probably would have came here. The way I came about it is one of the past employers that were Hispanic Chamber. I used to work with them many years ago. The way I knew about it, I would drive by at times and, oh, there's lights and there's a whole bunch of cars. I wonder what they do there, but never really stopped and checked. And not until there was a board member he was a board member there at the chamber. He was also on the board here, and he approached me saying, hey, we're looking at starting a new program that's catering to professionals, and trying to have a audience development engagement. This type, that would be one of the responsibilities for this organization, and we thought that you'd be a good fit in working with us, and came here, found out what they did, fell in love with it. I've been associated with this organization minimum 16 years
That's
or
awesome.
16 years. Yeah. At different capacities, people always thought I was already working here. And it's just, I was just passionate, and I see the results. You know how you had those old commercials, those priceless commercials, the priceless ones, that there's a lot of priceless moments that happen here. And here we're also trying to balance now the English speaking community with the Spanish speaking community, and having them blend as well. Because, at times, again, just because you have the same color skin doesn't mean,
Yeah, that you came
that
up the
you
same
can.
way. People come up all different ways,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And I think last question, William, if you'll indulge me. Okay. You said that you're from Guatemala, right? Do you have a spooky leyenda or folktale of sorts that you heard growing up that you want to share with us? Because that's going to be our next segment. So we figured that we'd ask you to be a part of it.
La Llorona.
Ah,
The
yes.
famous La Llorona. You better, again, just that growing aspect of how parents have, you better be, don't not cry in public, because, La Llorona's going to come and get you. So those, the tactics, if you will, of getting, trying to get some control with kids. But yeah, no, La Llorona was one, and it's interesting again, like you said, with these last couple of years, that's become a thing, and more. I mean, there's Hollywood came knocking on the
I
door,
think
right?
they came out with a movie or something recently,
Mm-hmm.
didn't they?
Yeah, it was part of the Conjuring series. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Look at what happens when we get popular, y'all. Oh my gosh. But
Oh,
yeah,
and that's not even touching the surface of it.
I
Yeah, yeah.
know. I know. I know. So, I mean, and like I said, thank you so much for coming on again. I mean, I think that's something that we are not necessarily a very formal type of show, but I feel like something that we share between like because I've looked into Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Like I've been reading up on you guys and what you guys do around the community, like before this interview or this podcast, and I've just always been impressed with how much heart there is into it. And I feel like that's something that, again, like, even though like we do things kind of in a different style here, we all sort of understand that like the outreach and the unity that we want to have with our community is very much, we all have very much the same goals. So thank you so much, William, for coming
Thank
on
you.
here. It means a lot.
Well, thank you very much again for the opportunity.
Yeah. And finally, so this Saturday, October 30th, is starting on the Northside, right? And going down Main Street, I believe?
Yes. So actually, I'd like to invite you all. It's Friday, actually.
Friday. Okay.
Kind of three things that are happening. We have an art installation or art exhibit, Dia De Los Muertos, that technically started already October 22nd through November 22nd. Now, yes, we know that Dia De Los Muertos is November 1st and November 2nd, but this is part of the art installation. Again, it allows us to educate more, right? Timeline. And it also allows us to more programming. So this Friday, we'll have live entertainment, 6 to 9:30 here in the theater. We'll be screening the film Coco. We'll have live entertainment, and people that just want to come and go and see the art installation, that, they're welcome. And then Saturday is the big one. From 10 to 12, we will have the parade from starting from Central, going down Main Street, and then turning on Spring Hill Suites on Ellis and coming back to Marine Park. Then that's where the festivities begin from 12 to 4 at Marine Park with mariachis, ballet folklorico, a whole bunch of other surprises, food, entertainment, music. And we'll also have a Dia de los Muertos attire contest.
Wow. Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff.
All right.
Well,
Yeah, definitely going to check it out.
Yes, absolutely. You heard it, folks. The Dia de los Muertos Fort Worth. Come check it out.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add on?
That's about it. That's about it. Yeah.
Yep. All right, William. Well, thank you very much once again, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right. We are back. Once again, thank you to William Giron from the Artes de la Rosa Center for that great interview. And make sure everybody check out the Dia de los Muertos
events happening.
Yeah, this weekend, starting on Friday, going into the weekend. Dia de los Muertos, it's happening.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, you guys, what we have coming up is...
We got the Leyendas, the horror.
Yes. Well, actually,
the spooky.
Yes, spooky of sorts. Well, I don't know. It really depends. Here's the thing about like Latino or Latinx folklore. If you're from Guatemala, if you're from Mexico, if you're from Salvador, if you're from Venezuela, if you're from any of these places, you know that our scary stories are nothing like the scary stories that are told around the campfire with these little American kids, in like one time in band camp sort of situations. Okay, like our stuff is like on a level of gruesome and violent and murderous
and a lot of depression
and a lot of ridiculously like knifey, bloody, violent shit that you probably shouldn't be telling your 7-year-old in order to behave. But
But I appreciate it.
We're Latinos. This is what we do.
I appreciate the grotesqueness of these folk tales, whatever you want to call them, legends, like to like really amplify that violence from like a get-go and be like, bam, this person's gonna stab you.
Yeah, or it might be why we have like minority-based anxiety, but whatever.
And completely drown you too, like to like tell somebody that a woman's gonna like drown you. That's pretty.
No, but it's so good. No, but it is completely fucked up. And you know what? Like, what I learned, and actually what I had noticed is that, did you know that magical realism actually like was birthed in like the Latino culture? Like, and you know what magical realism is like basically taking the absurd, like the completely ridiculous, fantastical, and magical, and putting it in a real world situation, like blending the completely normal with the completely absurd. And that's basically all of the stories that we've ever been told growing up. It has been birthed from a sort of like very threatening, magical as fuck realism. And while I love that genre in my story, in like my like graphic novels and all the books that I try to read now, it's like it's very like, no wonder we are a generation of traumatized children. But that's beside the point. It's part of our culture that has a love-hate relationship, mostly love.
I loved it. I don't think there was I think growing up for sure, I don't think there was
but the adults believe it though. Like that's the thing. That's the main part about it.
I mean, yeah, but there's also a few who like this, and this is where like the religious aspect comes into it, where it's like, yeah, we like telling these stories, but like God got me at the end of the day. Like these things ain't finna do anything.
But you can't juggle. My thing is that you can't juggle both. You can't juggle God on one hand and be talking about like I don't know, like
Cucuy.
El Cucuy.
Yeah,
Well, actually,
chupacabra coming after you.
the Cucuy was actually the monster that was going to get you if you didn't behave,
Right.
because of God, right? So he was sort of like,
I don't know if it was necessarily about God. I think it was
I
just,
thought it was I thought I had because a lot of these stories tend to have religious undertones
undertones.
to it.
Yeah, I think that was just more about just misbehaving children. I don't know if God was
I'm
really
pretty
that much
sure,
in play.
like, but anyway, so you have one for me, Mexicano?
Oh yeah, and I feel like I want to say I haven't told this before, but knowing me, I probably have because I repeat things a lot.
He does.
So this one happened. Oh man, this happened like maybe like the first time I went to Mexico, and I was like 5, and I remember walking at night. I think it was like right before like my grandma or my mom was telling me to come inside the house, and I remember walking.
Oh, I remember. I don't know if you told this on this podcast, but I think
I
I
don't
remember
know.
the story. Okay.
I remember walking down the street,
Uh-huh.
and there was an old man in front of me, right? Just a regular old man. I can't really see. I'm walking behind him, so all I see is his back. And he's just kind of like, just how an old person generally walks. He's very slow, just very, whatever. And I remember he had a white hat on, and he eventually he went into like this little alley, right? That was to his left. So he kind of like took that cut and went into the alley. I didn't really think anything of it. I just kept walking. And when I passed that thing, I would expect to see him in that alley, or at the very least, like walking in that direction. I passed through that thing, looked to my left, and what I saw was a big dead ass horse, like a stallion. And there in this what I thought was an alley was literally just a little passageway and then a brick wall. And just a brick wall. And in it there was no doors around it. There was no old man. It was just a horse. Like this brown horse. And at the beginning, at first, at that age, it didn't really struck me as weird. I was just like, oh, I wonder what happened to the old man. And now there's a horse. Like,
yeah, because as a kid, baby Mexicano was super naive and super just accepting of the world around him.
I just thought about like, oh, like there's just a horse. It's just it was just standing there.
That's so very unlike you and your personality, though. Like literally, the Mexicano that I know nowadays is super on edge and super observant,
analytical
about
and all that.
over to the point of it being fucking annoying about every little thing.
Yeah,
so
but
the fact that you don't question a horse in the middle of an alley.
I was a kid. All right.
Yeah,
I was a 5-year-old kid in a country that I'd never been before. And to me, it was just kind of like, whatever happened.
It's a cultural norm.
Yeah, like I guess
horses just all over the alleyways.
But it wasn't until I got older where I like really thought about it. I'm just like, man, like I think that man transformed into a horse.
Didn't you also tell me a story about a man in some shoes? I feel like you told me a story about about how your mom like thought she got you some shoes, and then it turns out that she didn't get you shoes.
Yeah, like it was
this,
but that wasn't.
Which you think is just like it was just like a low key way of you like flexing.
No, like it's still one of the trippiest things, and it's not like supernatural. It has nothing to do with like demons or anything like that, or like supernatural elements. It literally just has to like it deals with like this like experience that felt so real where I want these shoes, but my mom wouldn't get it for me, and I would and I was begging her.
How old were you?
It was at the exact same time being in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what was happening that time, man. It was something, I feel like that veil.
Spirits were out to get you.
That veil between the spirit world and like the earth.
The boy was hunting you down.
Yeah.
Broski.
So like I was begging her, I want these shoes. And they were just like regular like black shoes, like dress shoes almost. I don't know why I want them now. I think about it, but like I wanted them. And then, like, for some reason, we got up in the middle of the night. And first off, that's already, like, a red flag. I'm like, why are we going to get up in the middle of the night? My mom is not going to get up in the middle of the night to go get me some shoes, right? All the stores are closed. It's like 10 p.m. out. I should be in bed at this point. And I just remember walking to the store and going in, like, everything's normal, and getting the shoes and leaving.
You remember you doing this yourself. How old were you?
I was fine. It was like I said,
You were 5 years old?
yeah, it was the exact same time that the horse thing happened. It was all while I was in Mexico, and I don't know. My mom was
Some
with me.
wild,
I remember
crazy
my
few
mom
months
was
you had in there.
with me. She was the one that took me there, and like going to the store getting the shoes. But I never had the shoes. So like to me, I'm like, well, that's just a very elaborate, realistic dream. And why out of everything to dream of, I dreamt about that. Like, but it felt to this day so real. Like it was so vivid. Like unless it really did happen, and like somebody was nice enough to just let their store open for me to get these shoes. But I don't remember ever having the shoes.
So you never actually got the shoes?
No.
So all that and no kicks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I don't ever remember getting the shoes.
Okay.
But that's mine. What about yours? Like I said, that's a really weird one.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, here's the thing is that when I was a little girl, like my tia Mari would like sit all of us kids down and like tell a story from her childhood and like different creepy stuff that happened and like stuff from so long ago that I probably don't even remember the details of. But me myself, other than like I already told you the story about how like one time I was laying in bed and like and I think that I think this is more like an Americanized thing. It's like I had my foot was exposed, right? And for whatever reason, like I was trying to go to sleep and I could feel something pulling on it, right? Like, and I'm the kind of person that consistently, like, I don't like to believe, I don't fuck with that stuff. Like, people like to mess around with Ouija boards and shit. Like, no, don't play me like that. Like, I don't even. So immediately once I start to like feel this little tug at my ankle at first, I'm just thinking, no, Vero, it's okay, you're imagining. Like, get out of your head, you're fine. And so I try to go back to sleep, and then I feel it again, and this time it's like a little harder, and I'm just like, no, I'm fine. Like, get out of your head, you're fine. And then I felt like a real actual pull where like my leg actually moved, and I freaked the fuck out. And so I did what any normal like I think it was 17-year-old at the time would do, is I turned on George Lopez at 3 a.m. and I read the Bible, even though I hadn't touched that thing in like months, But
George Lopez is the holy cure to all scares.
Yeah.
I thought you were really about to say you were about to get up and go to your mom's room and get in the bed with her.
No, my mom ain't bugging with that shit. Like, she indulges it even way less than anybody else does. Like, if I were to have like ran to my mom's room like complaining about that, she'd be like, bitch, go back to bed. And not so many words.
Mama, there are demons in my room.
Nah, she'd be like, go back to bed, bro, you're fine. But that's just how it rolls in the Perez
Los demonios.
And in La Casa de Perez. Pero yeah, that's like my own personal demon story. But I did actually kind of want to share like some folklores. I mean, you and I are both like Mexican or half Mexican, so we know things like La Llorona and things like that. One actually that I've learned recently that I kind of wanted to share was the folklore of El Sombreron. So this one apparently, it has Mexican roots, but it was originated from Guatemala, and so El Sombreron is the story of this short, dark, shadowy, hooded man with a really, really, really large hat, right? So his whole thing is El Sombreron liked to braid the manes and tails of horses, and also liked little girls with big eyes and long hair. You've already heard about it? Okay, yeah. Big eyes and long hair. Well, did you actually, have you ever heard the origin story about it?
I feel like I did, but I can't remember.
Okay, well then I'm gonna just tell you that instead. Okay, so apparently how like El Sombreron came to be is, hold on, let me find it just to make sure that I don't mess up on anything. Okay, so basically, specifically, there was once this little girl, her name was like Susana or something like that, right? And it was this little girl with like big eyes and like super long dark hair, right? And she was like always a really thoughtful, curious, pensive personality. And outside her room there was a balcony, And what she liked to do is she liked to sit out her balcony and just like stare and just ponder and stuff. Her parents would always tell her, "It's like, no, come in, don't be out there like that. It's getting late, whatever." And then like one day El Sombreron comes out there and he starts serenading her with a silver guitar, right? And he starts coming up there and serenading her with the silver guitar night after night after night. And he keeps asking her to like if he can braid her hair and all of this stuff. And I mean, at first she kind of sort of keeps it from her parents or whatever, and she's not immediately going out to see him or whatever. And her parents, they start to get suspicious because they start to find dirt in her food, right? And so because of that, it's making her really, it makes it impossible for her to sleep. That and the combination of El Sombreron playing, serenading her every night, is just basically turning her into an insomniac and stuff. And finally her parents, they get sick of it. They have enough of like this guy basically tormenting their daughter, so they cut off all her hair and he disappears forever. So moral of the story is, as a woman, life sucks if you have long hair and if you don't obey your parents, because like society like needs us to conform to everything. The end.
And some old man is gonna make some trencitas.
Yeah. Basically, like a creepy old man is gonna come out to get you. Which, I mean, really, the way that it described him, like short and dark with a very large hat, he could be just a thirsty old dude at a baile, for all we know.
He could be, and for some reason, he's braiding your hair.
Yeah. Well,
what if it turns out to be like really good braids though?
I don't care. I don't want an old thirsty ass man braiding my hair. It's creepy as fuck. But do you know? But esos cuentos, like that's the thing about them, is that they always had some sort of like moralistic tale to them. Like with La Llorona, it was always, what was the like moral of the story?
Like the
for that?
moral of the story? Is there really a moral to that story?
Yeah, it was like,
don't cheat on your wife.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a lot of them,
think.
especially from like Mexican folklore. That is always, I feel like a lot of scary stories from our culture stem to like basically warn men to, hey, like don't fuck around on your wife, bruh. Like a lot of them, like borrachos or people that cheat on their wives, that's usually like where they stem from in order to like warn them and stuff. But no, that one for El Sombreron is just basically telling girls to get in line. So yeah, that is my leyenda from Guatemala, El Sombreron. And what we have next, human beings, is your presumed favorite. I don't know. I mean, you tell me, really, and just don't tell him, because it only makes his head even bigger than it already is. It is, I was gonna say Good Looking Out. It is Conspiracy Corner.
Yes, Conspiracy Corner. You already know what it is. So, for this spooky season edition of Conspiracy Corner, and Veronica kind of says,
Espooky.
Yeah, like it's spooky. Yeah. It's scary.
It's spooky, it's scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Veronica kind of said this earlier, how like a lot of conspiracy that I talk about, there are hints and elements of like it being spooky, already off the back. But for this in particular, and let me put out a disclaimer, because if you believe in certain things like this, I would suggest you kind of skip over this. So we'll have that somewhere in the timestamps. But this goes back into like this. Well, this talks about certain like images or words that if they're repeated or seen, they can start to affect what they call your inner chakra, and that it could potentially make you weak and sick and vulnerable to your physical, your emotional, your mental health. And this conspiracy is called the solar plexus glider. So essentially what it is that if you repeat that phrase, solar plexus glider, depending on how your chakra is, if it's very weak, if you repeat that, you will start to experience certain like essentially bad things happen to you.
So it's like the opposite of affirmations.
Yeah, it's like you repeat these certain words, you almost like in a mantra, right? If you start saying like these words in like a mantra state, you will start experiencing like maybe bad things going on in your personal life, maybe things happen to somebody else that like just horrible things are apparently supposed to happen. And also there's this image that goes along with it that used to circulate in the late 90s and like chain emails when that was still a thing.
Oh man.
And
I
that if you
forgot
see
all
it,
about
and if
this.
you see this image, you're kind of like essentially cursed for life, and that you'll start seeing this image like around you all the time. You won't be able to escape it, and now you're essentially like you've been awakened to these horrible things to like happen to you from now on. So you want to see the picture?
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
like I said,
wait, so this is an email. This is one of those like emails that you use
yeah,
to get,
like if you see
you
the
open
image,
this email, then you're like cursed for
Yeah.
10,000 years.
so that's the
Don't
image.
show me that shit. Like
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, so like I'll put it up somewhere up here so people can like see it. But
For
like
those who are subscribed to our In Living
YouTube
Spanglish YouTube video,
channel, exactly.
like,
Please,
subscribe,
like,
comment,
subscribe,
all
turn on
that
notification
yeah,
bells, all
whatever.
that. So that's the conspiracy.
Such great
That if you see
promoters.
this image or if you repeat the phrase solar plexus a clown glider over and over, you will
So wait, what do
Solar?
I have to repeat?
solar plexus clown glider.
Wait, say that again. What
It's
do I
up
have to
there.
repeat?
No, I'm not doing it. No, like I said, if you've made it this far, you probably don't really believe in this. Whatever. Like
So
I,
this is stuff that was only around during that very short era of like very scary, threatening spam emails where people actually used to believe that shit.
it was part of the spam email craze, yes, or like that whole thing that was going on in the late 90s. But I think it more so talks about like how there are certain things in life that the moment you are exposed to it, it can bring it can bring about horrible things. I think that's more of the lesson for
It's
it.
just, I just feel like it's the mind state that like bad things put you in that like freak you the fuck out. Like to that same note, like my brother used to walk into the doorway of my bedroom and just used to stand there, and I'd be like, "What?" And he's like, "Vero, you're going to die in 2 minutes." And I knew there'd be no reason, but I was so freaked
freaked
out.
out, yeah.
Like I was just scared. There's no. Oh, I hated that motherfucker so much.
That's the thing. It's like it's also saying like you ultimately have the power. So if you let these things
Get into your soul, get into your spirit.
get into your
yeah.
soul, like it's gonna like take you down.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but that's, that's for the people who don't have the blood of Christ, right?
exactly.
Okay.
I am bathed in it. No solar plexus clown glider is gonna hurt Ricardo Mexicano.
Okay, and that was the part that he's gonna like very specifically clip out and send to his mother, because his mother's been requesting we start like we stop saying such things of violento, different stuff.
I've been
at
talking
the
about great
podcast.
things. You're the one that's over here with the ultimate
potty
potty
mouth,
with the
yeah.
South Park potty mouth.
Whatever, I hate South Park. But anyway, and that's been Conspiracy Corner.
Oh
How do you
yeah.
say Conspiracy Corner in Spanish?
Esquina de
Conspiración.
Conspiración, yeah.
Sion.
yeah. So last thing, moving on. What is it, Vettel?
We have your favorite. We tell you what we've been into, different movies, different artists, different music. You already know what it is. It is GLOW, GLO, Good Looking Out.
I mean, technically, Conspiracy Corner is the favorite by numbers, but continue.
All right. Well, we'll see once like a poll actually officially comes out for that. But anywho's, all right. So what we have for you this week is something that I've been catching on Apple TV Plus. Thank you, Mexicano, for your password.
Please stop.
And is actually something that I've been seeing on ads a lot lately, and I've been meaning to watch, and I finally caught it. It is let's see because I've always struggled saying this word.
Oh, I know what you're. Oh yeah, I know what you're watching.
I've always struggled saying this word, and I don't know why. It's Acapulco.
Acapulco.
See? Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Anyway, so it's this new show on Apple TV Plus, Acapulco, apparently. And it's basically, if you guys have ever seen The Wonder Years and have ever seen How I Met Your Mother and have you've ever seen Jane the Virgin, if you put those three together, you don't have the same plot, but you very much have the same vibes. So basically it's a show about like this hotshot millionaire that has already made like a gajillion millions of dollars being a hotel mogul, and his little nephew is coming over to his house for his birthday, and he basically says it's like, I don't have an actual birthday present for you this year, mijo. What I'm going to tell you instead is going to tell you like my come up stories, you know, how we grew from the streets to being like a gajillion-dollar millionaire mogul. And so basically that's what the show's about. He basically tells him about his time, you know, like starting off as like a pool boy for this really, really fancy ass, like, you know how I always talk about white people, Mexico, Mexicano, and like how they have like those really fancy hotels in Acapulco
Yeah.
and Puerto Vallarta, places like that. And of course, you're going to see like a lot of, you know, white patrons, white guests, if you will, being serviced by a lot of like respectable Latino men in teeny tiny shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, he tells his story from going from there to basically like owning the entire franchise y todo eso. And it comes with like stories of like love and loss y todo eso. And it's a series that's currently still running. I think I'm on episode 5 right now, and I am completely caught up. Let me go ahead and tell you some of the people that are in it, because the main character is someone that has been in a couple of different things. So the main character's name is Maximo, and it is played by Eugenio.
Eugenio.
How do you say his name? Eugenio
Eugenio.
Derbez.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he's been in a good amount of couple of stuff. Everybody else I'm not really all that sure of, but like I said, it's got a lot of Jane the Virgin vibes, How I Met Your Mother vibes, and also the Wonder Years vibes, because he does take you back through a lot, and he goes through all of this in the whole like, you know, let me sit you down and tell you a story, mijo, and then you like flash back to the past and you go to the present, etc., etc. But it's a lot of fun. It's a little traditional for my taste, just in the whole sense of like, you know, his love interest Julia is like this like pretty girl at the front desk, and etc., etc. So that, you already know me, I get really tired of that plot really quickly. But it's very wholesome show, basically, is what I'm saying. It's wholesome, it's pretty funny. And one thing that I will say, that I don't know if non-Spanish speakers will notice this, but a lot of the show, like at least 55% of it, if not more, is in Spanish, and they do it so seamlessly that I don't even realize it when, and I don't know if that just means my Spanish has gotten better. It might be a mixture of both. I don't even realize it when they're switching from English to Spanish anymore. Like, it's the way that they structure the dialogue is so seamless that it just becomes a natural part of the show, instead of the, oh, hey, let me just show you that we are a Spanish and Mexican show by like throwing in a couple of words here and there. Órale, hey, padre.
I mean, it is set in Mexico.
But what I'm saying is that, like, you know what I'm saying is, like, when some shows like try too hard to throw in the Spanish words there, just sort of like a cherry on top sort of way, you know?
Yeah, but like, especially talking about like Acapulco, which for a lot of people who don't know the real Acapulco. I mean, obviously this is the real Acapulco on the show, but like in like real history, so we're saying that Acapulco was that thing in the 70s and the 80s. It was like what Puerto Vallarta is now. Acapulco was that. Now Acapulco was like not what it was. Very violent now, like cartels and stuff like that. It's not really what it.
Yeah, but I mean, also this show is set back in the 80s.
Right, exactly. Where it was at the peak.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. But anyway, all in all, it's a very nice, it's a very wholesome show. I think it's very entertaining. I'm gonna keep watching it throughout the rest of the season and like finish it out, because I really do enjoy it. And so yeah, Apple TV, Acapulco, catch it. I think like new episodes come out every Thursday, and I give it like a 7.5 out of 10 Veronica stars.
7.5 out of 10 Veronica eye rolls. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with me, because I am a man of the culture and I keep in tune with spooky season, I've been catching up on something, you know, spooky, horror related for my Good Lookin Out. So for me, what I want to talk about is the CHUCKY TV series.
Oh yeah, I've seen you watch this.
Yes, you heard that right, folks. For those who do not know, the legendary killer doll CHUCKY is back. Now in TV format for all ages. Not really. I'm kidding. You know, parents, please monitor what your kids be watching sometimes, because they be wild. I know I was. So Um, what I really like about this show is just kind of like how they went very grassroots when it came to like that horror element again. But they also take some liberties because it's not a standard movie format, like really tailor it to the small screen, and seeing how Chucky operates in a episodic format. Um I really do like that a lot of the original people who worked on Chucky for years and years are on the show. Specifically, Don Mancini. For those who don't know, he is the screenwriter for Chucky. He's written every single movie, and he's always inserted a little bit of himself into, whether it be Chucky himself or like maybe another character. And it's always something kind of personal. Like for people who don't know, Don Mancini is openly gay, and if you remember in Seed of Chucky, their son was like transsexual. He was Glenn and Glenda, and that was kind of like a almost like looking in the mirror. Even though Don Mancini's not trans, but it's
It is part of the LGBTQ
right, exactly.
community.
And then this new series, the main child character is named Jake, and he is also gay, and he's also kind of like struggling with like his
I
sex.
didn't know the main character was gay.
Yeah, he's gay, and he's kind of struggling with like coming out.
Mm.
But in the midst of all that, Chucky's there somehow. I feel like this kind of, I think it's I think it's a continuation of the Cult of Chucky, which was the last feature length movie that came out, which I saw, but I couldn't remember the plot exactly. So I think it kind of follows that movie. But even then, you could kind of like figure out what's going on. So Chucky's kind of like back. But the way he's acting is almost, to put it very simply, like almost civilized. Like he's like helping this boy Jake, whereas previously like every time Chucky got around kids was to take their soul so he could get so he could get out of the doll body and get back into like a real human body.
Yeah, because didn't he used to be like a serial killer or something like that?
Yeah, I mean he still is a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like Charles Lee Ray is the name of Chucky's real name. But it's kind of like exploring and through like flashback sequences, like Chucky's like upbringing, because apparently he grew up in that town that the TV show was set in, and it's also for some reason he's like kind of like an ally to Jake, where he's like, "Yo, Jake, like those people that mess with you for being different, I'll take care of them." Like that kind of thing.
I mean, but he's still being murderous. Because he's being murderous for the right reasons.
Right,
doesn't make him any less murderous.
Exactly, and then you start to see like this conflict with like Jake, where it's like, yeah, these people are really shitty to me. Let me.
Yeah, but then that's where you like get like shootings and stuff. That's not okay.
Right. But like I mean that's the whole like horror element to it. It's like, can this like, and it hasn't gone to that point yet, but it's like, is this kid really capable of like doing something heinous just because his doll's telling him to do it? Like,
that's I can't have social justice issues with my horror movies. No, like it's just too much.
Like
it's just too much. I can't do it.
Like I don't know. Like it's an interesting concept. There's only 2 episodes out, and I think episode 3 actually comes out tonight. So, and they've been.
You gonna watch it?
I'll have to wait because fortunately for people who are fans, they're releasing the full episode on YouTube for free. So this thing is on USA and Sci-Fi, so it's on cable. But if you don't have cable, you can just wait till the YouTube edition is uploaded.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And watch it then. So,
yeah.
Which makes me think it's probably like a mini series.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're probably doing this because they probably realize it's not going to be a lot of episodes, and they'll just upload all of them to get like more, which is really smart. You get more fans, you get more views, and people who are really interested in the show. I don't think I would have watched it just because I don't have those channels if they weren't uploaded to YouTube. So I love the show. Very creative. Chucky is once again animatronic, which he always is. People really don't like. I think the creators don't really want to go the CGI route, which I respect. So they keep it very organic. So you see all the movements.
Because part of the creep factor of Chucky is how he moves.
Yeah, and that he's right there on set.
Yeah.
This doll is like right there. So it's like it's completely realistic. So I love it. Great TV show. I can't wait to see how it turns out with the later episodes. And I'll give it a good. I think I'm in the same bubble as you. I give it a good 7.5 out of 10 so far, but that could go up to an 8 just depending on how it goes.
And that's a big fat nope for me,
You need to
folks,
watch it.
nah, I don't fuck with dolls and shit. Nah, that's not my thing. But anyway, that's been our Espooky Especial de In Living Spanglish. So thanks again for joining us this episode, human beings. If you're out there, be safe, turn up, happy Halloween, happy Dia de los Muertos, and that is it. We are out.
Oh, bop.
My hope is that you see how Spanglish has closed the gap and formed a synergistic approach for communication. Thank you.